All right, let's talk about all the fun and exciting things going down this week in Reddit. And guys, I've only got half a brain, so be wary. I've doubled my capacity with 4 hours of sleep. Joined today by, of course, Case, as always, and Jeff, the Riz Risdon, for the whole show. Thanks a lot, Riz. Appreciate it. And this most important reflection of the draft. You guys like that for a title? Reflections on the draft?
Reflections on the draft. I feel like it's like I'm Stuart Smalley, reflecting upon all the positive things.
Sitting by the pond, waiting for a gator to come out.
I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And gosh darn it, people will like this draft.
If I have to look in the mirror, I'm going to see all the things I don't like.
Based on your comment earlier, with things that you like get pounded with personally, but we'll talk about that later. Okay. Riz is a smart man. He's doing single dad, got off of, it was basketball practice, right, Riz?
Yes.
As a kid?
Yep.
He picked up some beer on the way, so he's good. I'm working on half a tank of gas in case he never started with a full one. So we are in all the capacity that we have going on today. Let's talk about the draft. We'll start off, I guess there's a guy we picked out, and I'm just going to tell my story on this, and then you guys can tell me I'm wrong or go on it. But let's start out with TJ Hawkinson. In case I'll never forget draft day, we were sitting there talking, and watching Josh Allen fall, and our hearts were just, I'm sitting here and my heart's hitting the camera, just blam, blam, blasting through the camera. Was so freaking excited that we could get Josh Allen. And then he went at number 7, and we wound up with TJ Hawkinson. And I just did it there. We wound up with, right? If you look at all, and I'm just going to go off, if you look at all the mock drafts out there, which I know aren't perfect, but let's just say that the consensus pick of people is Hawkinson's a top 11 pick. I saw him go as high as to Jacksonville ahead of us. Like half of the mock drafts had him going to us. It should have been no surprise that Hawkinson came to the Detroit Lions. But I think the idea that we could we tasted a little bit of Allen, so to speak, we maybe were more disappointed than we should have been. And then there's the guy who just reads about it in the paper the next day and say, didn't we take an Ebron guy? That didn't work either, right? You guys tell me I'm wrong, but I think the reaction was more based on dashed expectations with Allen than anything else. What do you say, Case? I'm not wrong, right?
No. It's funny, and we'll go. I mean, we've got a long off season yet to get into it, so we will talk about TJ Hawkinson on more than one occasion, and probably next time we meet, I will try to break down everything I feel about that from every possible angle I feel about that. But the basics are, you get your hopes up for a player like Josh Allen because it looks like he's going to be there. And if he had gone 3 or 4 picks earlier, we wouldn't have been, freaking out. We wouldn't have been, the pick of TJ Hawkinson would have felt better. When you just miss out, when you just miss out. And one of the things that I would talk about with TJ Hawkinson later on is some comparisons, not necessarily in his style of play at all, but in terms of where he was drafted and in terms of remembering what it was like when Eric Ebron was drafted, what it felt like to miss out on some of the guys that I was so desperate to have the Anthony Barr pick, which I'm not necessarily saying that pick, lives up over time, although he's a good player. But at the time, I was so excited. I was so excited for him.
For us.
And Mike Evans. I mean, both of those 2 players, I was like, if either one of them could possibly fall to us, I would just lose my mind. And there was a bit of a moment, in some similar ways to that.
Must have been something else that did it. What did you think, Riz? I mean, you were sitting there. You were fully sober in a very quiet location with your earmuffs on and your tags clipped out of your T-shirt because I know they start to bother you a little bit. So
yes, they do.
How was it, man? I mean,
so we did a 96.1 draft watch party at Foaling Warehouse in Grand Rapids, and the guys took the break from Foaling, which if you haven't done it, it's awesome. It's like bowling, but you're throwing footballs with the bowling pins. It's pretty sweet. It's fun. So there was a lot going on. There's probably 40 to 50 of us watching the draft, and another probably 50 to 60 people doing that. But everybody stopped at that point, and we were watching it. And when it got to 6, and Josh Allen didn't go, and Daniel Jones went, and after I got done laughing at the Giants for like 5 minutes because I couldn't help myself because that's the worst freaking pick I've ever seen. They just drafted Matt Castle, number 6 overall, but that's their problem. So I'm there, and one of the producers from WDFN in Detroit, 1130, Adam Strohs, you guys, if you listen to their shows, you know him at all. He drove out from Detroit to hang out with us at this party. He and I were so excited that it was Josh Allen. We're like, they're not taking Josh Allen. They're taking TJ Hawkinson. We both knew they were taking TJ Hawkinson. So we're like, this is the best thing ever. And I had been trumpeting it up for the last couple of days leading into the draft that Josh Allen was going to fall to us. And people thought I was insane. And here I was getting validated. I'm like, yes, the Riz was right. Yeah. so
that is going to be a drop in the future. Thank you very much.
Yes. So Strohs takes his shirt off. I took my belt off, and I'm all primed and ready. And
there's another drop. Strohs taking his shirt off.
Let's not interrupt a man while he's making a mistake. This is good.
That did not come out properly.
Yeah, well.
We're getting to the part where it came out, so come on, let's go on.
Yeah. So I'm all ready, and then Jacksonville makes their pick, and they took Josh Allen, and I was surprised. I really did think they were taking TJ Hawkinson. If they weren't going to take Hawkinson, I thought they were taking Jawan Taylor, who they wound up getting the second round, which is a weird story in and of itself. Yeah. I thought there was an outside chance they'd take Jonah Williams and save me from that misery of pit of hell that would have resulted, and they didn't do that. And then after that happened, I'm like, oh, crap. Okay, who's left on the board? Ed Oliver's there. I freaking love Ed Oliver, but I knew the Lions weren't all that interested. A little birdie, actually, he's a big bird. That'll probably help tell you who it is. Tipped me off that they weren't all that interested in Ed Oliver.
Larry Bird.
Oh, that'd be sweet. Shooting the
stupid. So stupid. I apologize. I told you I'm only half a brain.
That's okay. So so then I'm thinking, okay, Devin Bush is still out there. So in the 24-hour lead up to the draft, both Eric Schlitt and I, and also Jeremy Reisman from Pride of Detroit, all trumpeted up the idea that, oh my God, Devin Bush might be the guy. Because we had heard signals, we had heard that there was dissatisfaction, that they wanted to get better at the off-the-ball linebacker spot. Turns out they did. We'll get to that later. But
or they, tried.
Right. So, well, they got better. Trust me on that.
Oh, I agree. I'm just saying,
Yeah. So I'm wondering, okay, will they really break my heart, crush my balls, and take Jonah Williams, which would still, to me, be the worst possible outcome of the number 8 pick. Mm-hmm. Nothing against Jonah Williams, but I did not want an offensive lineman. I specifically didn't want one who played left tackle to go play right guard. That's asinine.
Right. I agree.
The dumbest freaking concept on the face of the earth. I'm glad I don't have to jump off that bridge anymore. So when they announced Hawkinson, and it actually got captured on video, somebody, Big Drew, took video of me, and my reaction was, all right, it could have been worse. It could have been better. Devin Bush was my number 4 player. Ed Oliver was my number 3 player. Both of those guys, obviously, I would have preferred. But I get taking Hawkinson, especially in the larger context of the draft, that it was a terrible wide receiver class, and they tapped into that, and they got the best offensive weapon in the draft. He happens to play tight end. And I think that's probably the best way to frame it for people that are skeptical that oh my God, they took a tight end in the top 10. When was the first receiver? In the 20s, 25. When was the first running back? 24. We don't need a running back.
Who would be your starting tight ends if they didn't take Hawkinson?
It would be Jesse James and apparently Isaac Nauta. He took it a 7th.
Smells a whole lot like 2018, doesn't it?
So I tried to express this in the piece that I did in the lines where I can't explain to people who don't understand how awful the tight end room was last year. Levine Toilolo perked up at the end of the year. Nobody liked him. He didn't want to come back.
Yeah.
And he was not a popular guy in the locker room. Let's go with it that way. That's probably the nicest way to say it.
Like I said, we'll hit back on this on later days, and I will give like every angle that I can possibly come up with on it. There's the economic issue. We talked about that during the draft show.
About like the money commitment to a tight end,
the arbitrage on it.
Right. So that's one thing. There is the whole idea of like a pass rusher, being that you listed off a couple guys that you really liked, and I also super am and was in love with Brian Burns, and you may not agree with me on that, but I was very into Brian Burns.
I would have taken Hawkinson over him, but I would have appreciated Brian Burns as well.
So I mean that plays in that whole thing. There's the whole optics of the thing, like, boy, is this guy walking into a tough situation, into a fan base that is going to, you and the two of us are as likely to be as kind as possible to him of anybody, because we're going to be willing to wait and see what he's able to do. But I don't know that is true of the Lions fan base as a whole. Like, if he doesn't step up immediately, things are going to turn negative real fast, and that sucks for him. And so that's another angle to the whole thing. Can
I go an angle on that, because it reminds me of the Cleveland quarterback situation, and I've dealt with this for a long time. Brandon Weeden, Brady Quinn, Johnny Manziel, all these guys. They couldn't overcome the sins of their predecessors,
right?
No matter how good they were,
right.
And that's a very real thing, and that is something. And I pray to God Hawkinson's smart enough not to take number 85.
Well, because it's an easy narrative, right? It's easy to say, yeah, he stinks just like Ebron, and you can't take tight end in the first round because you know the value and all this other stuff. There was, like you said, the tight end room. There was a massive dearth of talent at tight end. There was one, and we saw somebody who can run a 5 to 7 yard route to give Stafford an outlet and a quick out when a blitz is coming in. He lost that without Tate, and things got ugly really, really fast. Having a good set of tight ends is really helpful. Having a good set of tight ends who can block is a great way to help bolster that line. That makes it so you don't have to pick up a guard, and now you have multiple threats on the field at once. You can do a lot of things with that. I don't think this is a bad pick at all. The arbitrage thing we talked about during the draft is where, hey, if you get you get an edge, you get him on a rookie contract. He's here. You got like what would be a $15 million, $20 million a year guy versus like a $7 million a year guy in a tight end, right? So now you're not getting as much savings at a position that you could. But if you look at what they did with the cap in the offseason and the way they structured the contracts, they did such a good job. Look at where Flowers came in at, 15.5 instead of the $20 million that seems to be the going right now.
Look at how much less he's making than Frank Clark.
Exactly.
He's a better player than Frank Clark.
Exactly.
He's a much better player than Frank Clark.
You know what? You want every win you can get there, but the reality is we've been doing really well playing the cap here, that it gives you a little flexibility that you can dip in and take a guy who's going to be an impact on your offense right away and help your offense right away, and he's the best player on the board, rather than having to worry about what position I'm filling and what arbitrage am I getting on the dollars and cents. So I think that's a null and void argument. I think they're managing the cap as a whole more holistically rather than at an individual player basis. So it's
that right away thing.
Yeah.
It's that right away thing. The pressure is on him to be a right away player.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, but with James and Nada that you have on the roster right now, I think that gives him a little breathing room. It gives him an opportunity to have other guys that they can target if he's having an off day, if he's not having to play through something. I think that there's some flexibility here to help him be successful. And you know what? Eric Ebron, you guys know on draft day when we picked him, he was the wrong guy to pick. He was absolutely the wrong guy. Not because he was a tight end at 10th overall, but because he was a bad player and he had drop issues. And you don't learn not to drop the ball when you get into the NFL. That's not a coaching kind of a thing. That was a shit pick. That's all that was. So, all right, we'll move on because I want to say this guy's name.
We'll go back to TJ later.
Yeah. We'll talk more about this, but this is again, reflections.
reflections on the draft.
Yeah. All right. So bringing up the mirror again and seeing Case in all his glory. Jelani Tavai from Hawaii. I don't think anyone was stunned by this. This is the obvious pick, and I think he was on everybody's board. Riz, this is you want to do the Riz was right now, or how do you want to handle this one?
I will reserve judgment on whether I'm right or I'm wrong until he puts on the pads. I did have an inclination that the Lions were interested in him. I had a very good inclination that the Philadelphia Eagles were very interested in him with their next pick. And that came to me before the Lions made that pick, by the way. And
we also heard the Patriots were also looking.
Yes, the Patriots were also interested.
Shocking that we would be interested in the same players, the Patriots, because that hasn't happened at all before.
Yeah, exactly. So Tavai, to me, I watched him late in the draft process, but I got around to him. So Dane Brugler from The Athletic, who is probably the draftnik that I respect more than any other, because Dane does not care what other people think. And I
much like Bob Quinn.
Yes, yeah. And that appears to be a good way to operate your business. So Dane, back the week before Christmas, put out a thing of like underrated players and like players who the draft internet community was underrating or underappreciating.
Right.
And Tavai was like at the top of that list. So I made it a point at that time to check it out. And I'm fortunate enough, I do weekly guest spots on ESPN 850 in Hawaii, Honolulu. Mahalo. I've done that for 11 years now. So I have access to Hawaii things. I talked to my Hawaii people. And they told me very, very good things about him. They said that he was a complete knucklehead when he got to college. He was immature. He got suspended. He left school for a year and got his crap together. And that's the important thing, was that he got it together and was very popular with his teammates, and a very popular guy with the fans, with the community. Aside from the fact that he wound up being a pretty darn good football player, he is not Devin Bush. He is not Devin White. And I think a lot of people were like, we need the linebacker like that. He is more of the Jamie Collins type. To go back into Patricia's past, he's a
Hightower.
I think Hightower is more athletic, and I think he played more inside than what.
And I say that just because it's a name everybody knows. That's the comparison. Right. The reason I made the comparison.
Yeah,
it's easy to pick.
Like he lined up, and I haven't charted it yet, but I did watch in retrospect a couple of games. He lines up all over the formation. He lined up at left end. He lined up at right end. He lined up playing over the flexed out tight end at times and ran with him in coverage. And by the way, did a pretty good job at that. He's not fast.
Would you say he's multiple?
Oh yeah. Keyword. We need like the Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Right, that's exactly what I was saying. It's like I don't know if I can pull out my Pee Wee impression on cue, but
try it.
No, we're gonna pass. We'll try it another time.
Okay, so we'll let this fill in the meantime.
Tommy Lee around? What?
Coming through.
Yeah, so he can do a lot of different things. He can rush. He can play the strong side linebacker. He can line up over a tight end who walks out and isn't completely lost in that. What I liked on his film, he has got violent hands. He hits somebody, they know it. Like if the tight end is trying to chuck and release, he's chucking them back, and he's disrupting their timing. If a blocker's coming at him, he knows how to dispatch him with his hands. Now he doesn't do good when they go for his legs, but he's good at getting violence through his upper body and unleashing his power in his upper body. And I like that a lot.
Now he tackles
well.
See,
he tackles well. He is not somebody who is going to. He's not Jared Davis in that, if he's one-on-one in space with a guy, he's probably not going to win. That's not where he wins.
Okay, yeah. I agree.
He wins between the tackles. When he gets a guy on train tracks, when I'll tell you what he's great at. He is awesome as being the inside guy on an outside run. because he never allows the cutback lane.
Right.
He's always where he needs to be. He never overruns it. I haven't seen him do it once, and I've watched 6 or 7 games of his.
Which is what we've seen Jared Davis do a bunch of times, is blast through and miss the run.
If you were a Devin White fan, that's his tape is literally, he does that 3 or 4 times a game.
And then you put Davis on the outside part of that run, and all of a sudden that's a pretty good 1-2 punch, right?
Exactly. And you've got some corners who can tackle, and you got some safeties who can tackle. The 3rd round safety who will get you, that might be all he can do, but that's okay.
The number of times that he caused Bob Quinn to say how much he likes thick boys was impressive.
Oh my God, it is Sir Mix-a-Lot booty thick.
I think that's a direct Quinn quote, right?
This is America's ass.
Bob Quinn channeling me. Yeah.
Spoiler.
Oh man. Yeah,
I like the pick. It's higher than I would. He was my number. He was my number 50. Was it? He was my number 52. He was either 52 or 57, and I put him in the what Riz would do mock draft at the other one. And so I liked him, and a lot of people liked him. He was underexposed, and I think ignorance was not bliss for people in this draft. Like, they took a linebacker that I've never heard of. Well, that's on you that you haven't heard of him, because those of us who had studied the draft and who do this for a living have tried to tell you about him for some time. We had written about him at Lions Wire. Both Eric Schlitt and I had written separate pieces about him over the last 3 months. If you hadn't heard of him and you weren't aware that this guy was a day 2 prospect, that's on you. That's not on him. Don't take that on him.
Right.
That's your ignorance.
Well, and I mean, just in general. Okay, so we take him, and a guy like me who admittedly doesn't do that for a living. Here's a name of a dude, and then tries to do a basic search on him, and the results are
it's scant. It's scant and underwhelming.
Right. So it's easy for a guy like me to be like, well, what were they thinking? But we talked about, Bob Quinn doesn't fucking care what I think. And to be perfectly honest, I'm glad he doesn't. If he cared what I thought, this would not be a better team than, it is. Like, I mean, I could probably run I could probably help build a team that came in like 31st in the league. But that's about the best I could offer.
Giving yourself all that credit. Here's where the risk is.
So you could run the Dolphins.
right, exactly. Actually, and they actually did a pretty good job with the whole Josh Rosen thing, as far as
yes, they did
value out of things. So, and I think they're the worst. I have said for years that I think they're the worst run team in the league. So.
I think
most of their fans would agree with you.
I think the risk with Tavai is with fans. I think it's the risk is higher with him if he doesn't play well and do well kind of out of the gate. I think it's the risk is higher for poor treatment from the fans with him than it is with Hawkinson. I think the edge that Hawkinson has is the players around him and how good he is at the position. Just naturally, he is better at catching the ball and blocking and all those things than you're going to get out of Ebron or any of the other guys. He's just going to show up. Tavai is a guy that people will grab onto and rip on Quinn, and Quinn can't draft and all that stuff depending on this. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a very similar type of development out of him this year as we saw out of Jared Davis last year, or at the beginning of the year, people were saying Quinn can't draft. By the end of the year, like, hey, this Jared Davis guy, he ain't so bad.
Maybe the most fascinating part of him as a player is that he is part of a dying breed. In what I see, the move toward nickel and dime defenses is major, and I get it, and I believe that it is the wave of the future. But at the same time, it also makes sense sometimes to counteract those waves, to go a different direction, and being a more traditional, like I said, a thick boy linebacker.
Oh my God, it is Sir Mix-a-Lot booty thick.
Right. Hey, that was fast.
He's got it on the speed. Oh, crap.
But I mean, I do appreciate that aspect of it. I appreciate that aspect of it. that you've got them going in a different direction than everybody else is going in right now, and I do think that there is value in that as long as you pull it off.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the next one because Riz is just chomping at the bit to talk about. I'm going to tell you straight up, this surprised the shit out of me. Seeing the word safety after our third round pick was something that I did not expect by any stretch of the imagination. And again, looking at the draft in totality, I'm not as bad with it. But I just don't. This is the thing about the Bob Quinn, and I think this might drive people nuts. Just like taking the whole value arbitrage we talked about with taking a tight end with your first round pick and the value of what it is, taking a safety right here when Oruwariye was on there, right? I mean, it's like,
right.
Oh, what are you doing? But we wound up with him anyway. But this was just confusing because his position was safety. Help provide some spotlight and analysis on this, Riz, because I feel like I was running on like half hour of sleep when I heard that.
I did not like it. I still don't like the pick. I'm not going to change my opinion on that. When I watched him at Boston College, I saw a guy who I'm trying to think of you guys know who Tony Jefferson is. He played for the Cardinals first off, played at Oklahoma. Now he plays for the Ravens and has emerged as a pretty good player. But when he came out of Oklahoma, he was a straight train track player. And that's what Will Harris is as a safety. If you are in the way of the train, you are going to die. But if you can even move 1 inch to your right or left, he gonna miss you. Because that's the kind of tackler that he is. I can't stand players like that. And that's just a personal thing for mine. So I went back and watched more of him. The more I watch him, this guy's a cornerback. He is not a safety. He played at cornerback or at safety at Boston College. Maybe they did have some good corners there, but their other safety that they had was better than him. You know, he's a cover safety, but he makes a lot of mistakes. He was my 227th overall player.
Oh, wow.
So I will interject my own bias into that. The other thing, and I'm looking right now at the players that were taken right after. I really thought Nate Davis was going to be the pick, and he wound up going the very next pick to the Tennessee Titans. I thought for sure they were going to take him.
It's Justin only 140 Lane was on the board. Picks ahead of where you had him, Riz. I mean, it's right in the ballpark.
It's not the greatest value. Let's put it that way. Who else was there? Jalen Ferguson was still there. He went 3 picks later.
Yeah.
I thought there would be some interest in him. Chuma Udoga, an offensive lineman that I really liked, went to the Jets at 92.
Oruwariye was there.
Oruwariye was there. O'Shane Zimenez was there. I'm not a big fan of his, but I would have accepted that. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was the guy that I wanted so bad.
Good pick.
If you're taking a safety, I wanted him because he can also play corner and is aware that he can play corner.
I hated him as a first-round prospect, but outside of the first round, I certainly would have been okay with that.
He was a fantastic value there. He was the best player available for me for quite some time. And it was frustrating that they chose a guy that I don't think can play other than in sub packages and special teams. They took him in the 3rd round. I hope I'm wrong.
He might be, a special teams ace. So
my view for what he is he is the death knell for Miles Killebrew, and I expect I expect very little more out of him in 2019 than being the guy that Miles Killebrew was last year.
There were a couple death knells in this draft class.
Yes, another one hit me hard. Sad.
We'll get there.
Wow.
Sad. Need a moment.
There you go. That's your moment. All right.
No, I don't think I can really disagree. I mean, he is a hard hitter.
Yeah,
and I like that.
And he's a very good athlete.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so concerned with coverage when it comes to anybody who's going to be showing up in nickel and dime packages. If you can't cover, you're going to expose us.
If you're a safety and you don't see plays quickly and diagnose things that are happening in front of you and the route combinations that are coming at you, you're in a world of hurt. And that every single time I saw them, and I've seen them play, I saw them play in person twice. I've seen 3 or 4 games of theirs on all 22. He does not understand what's coming at him. He just doesn't.
Yeah.
And that is not going to change in the NFL. I think this is a terrible pick. Sorry.
No,
Wow.
I will. As much as we, can talk about the Hawaii linebacker, this if I had to pick a bad pick in this is the one. The Hawaii, I feel like
Hawaiian Lion.
The Hawaiian Lion.
Hawaiian Lion. That's I like that.
The upside on that. The upside on that is great. The upside on this one is.
What do you mean? You got yourself a Miles Killebrew replacement, Hall of Famer Miles Killebrew.
Like we really needed a Miles Killebrew replacement because
we need to
Miles
replace him with
Killebrew was on the
something.
field all the time.
He's taking up one of the
literally need
53.
to fill a roster spot.
This may not be the one to do it, though. I'll give you that. We'll see. He may blow up. He might be 20% more the player Miles.
I hope Jeff and I are fucking miserably. I would love to.
I hope we're wrong too.
Yeah, I'm not arguing for this pick, just so you know. I'm just arguing. All right, we'll move on. So we got our safety that we really desperately needed. We got our tight end that made everybody happy. We've got the top linebacker in the draft. People are feeling good at this point. We're going into day 3.
Yeah, it was kind of a rough couple days, wasn't it?
Yeah. Poor Sandman was just stunned on the broadcast. He was just like, he's like,
Poor Sandman.
Well, that's how I felt. That's how I felt after the Ragnow pick. It took me, a minute to collect myself, and then I got behind it. But like, I can understand how somebody would have been in a world of hurt after that.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So next,
one thing I'll just say one last thing. When they drafted Kenny Golladay, most people who were doing what we did thought that was their worst pick.
Absolutely. Yep. And we're going to talk about another player who I'm going to make a wildly irresponsible comparison to him. So,
sweet.
I like wild irresponsibility. You live. That's your life, Case. Wild and irresponsible. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this isn't crazy. So we wake up day 3. Things are moving a little quicker. Pick 117. Still not to where Riz had Will Harris in his list of picks.
We're within 100 now, almost.
Austin Bryant out of Clemson, the worst of the defensive linemen in Clemson, is exactly how it was sold. Right? This is the attitude.
Did they say that on TV?
I've seen that multiple times.
Yeah.
I didn't have audio on Saturday for the drafts. Kind of missed that.
So there you go.
I mean, the other 3 all went ahead of him, so of course he's the worst.
Yeah.
Well, he's the most niche role player of the 4. Mm-hmm. And I'd argue that they had another guy on their inside who was probably more overall talented than him. But it sounds like, and I think we can all agree on this, they're going to play him not at defensive end, but at the jack spot.
Jack, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, can we I like to do this just because I know that people don't always understand when we say things like that. What does the jack mean?
Oh, if I had an AC/DC drop right now, I would be playing it. Just so you know.
She's got the jack.
That's right.
She's got the jack. I can't do Bon Scott. Sorry.
So explain the jack for Case.
You know what Devin Kennard was last year?
No, what? What was he? I don't remember.
It was a short-term rental.
Never heard of him. They had Detroit Turtle. Was he a cooter?
Oh my goodness.
So it's primarily a heavy outside linebacker who lines up on the side of the tight end and rushes the passer.
There we go.
And attacks the run end or the tight end on the way there. It's usually a guy who weighs at least 250 to 260 pounds. Kennard is 260. Mm-hmm. And they're generally not the most finesse guys.
Yeah.
And that's Austin Bryant.
But they might be multiple.
Yes.
In that you can use them in coverage on running backs, tight ends, if absolutely necessary.
I'm between multiple and thick, and I had to decide which one to play. I forgot.
I decided to stop saying versatile and start saying multiple. So
yeah,
versatile. I guess
multiple.
It's versatile. It's all we need to know.
Multiple and thick also describes Tommy Lee.
Anyway, we appreciate the education. I appreciate,
It's a role.
I agree with you completely.
It's not a full-time role, but when you're taking a guy in the 4th round, you don't expect him to play a full-time role.
Mm-mm.
All right, so let's move on then. We could talk more about him, but we've only got so much time.
I need to see Austin Bryant at his new position in person before I judge what he can do at it, because we haven't seen him do it before.
Yeah, and that's, I think, for many of these picks, it's actually true. We need to start seeing them take some reps, see how they're getting used, and it will be probably training camp before we really start and get in an understanding here. That's unfortunate, but it's unfortunate for the teams we have to play as well if they work out well. So we'll get down to the next guy, round 5. I was like,
say it. I
will. Calm down.
I've been waiting for this.
Let's walk down the hill and fuck them all, Case. So we'll just go.
I think all 3 of us have to say it.
Okay.
Who does it best?
All right, okay. A guy that I when we were doing it, I had stopped. We'd broadcast for 2 days. It was 8.5 hours of live shows. I was absolutely freaking mentally exhausted. I wasn't watching who was taken. I was literally just kind of like, I had an IV of saline trying to rehydrate. I was drooling on my chest. I was a mess. A couple of Advils going, and I'm watching, and I'm like, who got Oruwariye? And it was actually pretty good. Being us. Actually pretty good. Thank you. I couldn't say it then. I couldn't say it the night before. It was like somebody actually found a great YouTube video of a husky trying to say I love you. And they said it was me, and it was absolutely right. It was so good. That's brilliant. Because I was at the point where I had a couple. I started out with margaritas. I was a couple beers in. At the beginning of the show, I said his name twice. It was cool. I got to this one point, and it like broke, and I couldn't say it anymore. So Oruwariye is our guy that we got here. Amani from Penn State, a cornerback, which I would have been so stoked if we got him in the 3rd, and here we are. I'm like, how Bob? How does this happen?
It's glorious. It's the guy that I wanted in the 2nd round. You got him in the 5th. That's what more needs to be said. If you switch the 2nd and the 5th round picks, I think, and somebody put this on Twitter. I forget who it was. Sorry for not crediting you. I think most people would think this is a phenomenal draft.
Yeah.
But the order that they were taken in impacts the perception of the players, and it's real, and I get it, but it's also unfortunate.
And they're fabulous. Yeah, absolutely.
Just for those who aren't as super familiar with him, the basics on him: ball hawk, tall, 6'2". I shouldn't say tall, but I mean like in the realm of cornerbacks, fairly tall,
6'1.5",
fast,
4'7",
40. Like, you're talking about a guy with the physical potential to be incredible, which is why we all have to beg the question, how on earth did he make it to the 5th round? Because he has all the physical potential in the world, especially with some production in college where he had 7-8 interceptions the last couple of years.
I know how he made it. Because nobody could say his fucking name.
No, fair enough.
All the war rooms were drinking.
You can't draft him.
So I'll interject here on what I heard of why he fell, and I actually heard this before day 2. I was chatting with some draft nicks behind the scenes, and one of them was that he only had 1 year as a starter. Mm-hmm. He didn't start at Penn State.
Yeah,
and he's not Greedy Williams, but he's also not like Rasheed Mathis going after people in the run game.
Right. Fair.
Mm-hmm.
He is not an aggressive tackler. And so he also does. Yeah, exactly. Well, yes. Put those hands together. Yeah. He's not soft. He's just not
unaware, maybe.
Yeah. I think there are times where he thinks, oh, somebody else will make that tackle. Okay.
Right.
And he's happy to let him do it. And that's not Greedy Williams like diving after the guy's already out of the camera shot. Right. So it looks like he dove and gave effort.
Right.
And I told that little story to Cleveland fans, and they really don't like that because he was their first pick.
Yeah, they're really happy with that.
Oops.
Yeah.
They were also super hyped about Justin Gilbert.
Justin Lane. Oh no, Justin.
No.
Oh, Justin Gilbert back in the day. Oh
Yeah.
God. See, my frame of reference for the Ebron draft, to go back to that.
Right.
I was relieved as hell. It could have been worse. Justin Gilbert was who Martin Mayhew wanted.
I remember that too. I very much remember that. I very much remember Lions fans wanting him and No Fly Zone, who I talked about this offseason, the free agent, Michigan State cornerback.
Justin.
Darqueze Dennard.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
thank you.
I think of this year.
No, Justin Gilbert. That was one of those guys. To go back on that, when your college coaches tell scouts that they don't want you, you should probably listen to them.
Right.
They did that with Malik McDowell. Unfortunately, the Lions.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that shit went down fast and hard.
So a player that went 3 picks after Aruwariye is a guy that I feel like we dodged a bullet. And
all right, now I got to look it up. Oh, yeah. Oh, thank God.
A lot of people, they were stoked
because
for
we've
him.
seen him without his shirt on.
That's right. And I had to hit it. I had to hit it again. Hunter Renfrow, and they were stoked that he's picked up. He's got 7 6/8 hands. Okay, so my son, when he was born, had bigger hands than Hunter Renfrow. And
insert the tiny hand guy here.
he's 5'10", right? And 175. Fine. So he's a little small. But I'm going to tell you, you guys, I've said freaking ripped, right? You guys have heard all my notes about body type, because that was one of the things I was looking at about how hard these guys are working in the gym is one of the measurements I had. And literally, I am not joking. My note right here says looks like a punter. I mean, the guy had the body of a fucking punter.
He looks like he's never lifted a weight in his life.
No. Little hands, chunky. And of course, leave it to Gruden to grab him. But that's a bullet I think we really dodged. A name that people liked.
Dad bod is a small wide receiver. Yeah. Like no tone at all to his shoulders or arms.
Yeah.
Nothing.
It's like Prater'd say, "Hey, how'd you get so soft, man? I could use some tips on that."
Actually, I should point out, we're not going to cover him, but the long snapper we picked up had some of the similar things said about his body type. So,
So let's not body shame. We'll move on.
I'm in no position to body shame after this draft season. Bloody hell, man.
All right, wait. You guys didn't say his name. Kick it, Case.
Oh fuck! I don't even have it up.
All right, Riz, you go first, so he can follow you. Use it as a guide.
Oh, Aruwariye.
Amani Oruwariye.
There you go. Okay.
Yes.
Now you guys know.
I thought you were talking about the long snapper. I don't even remember the name.
Yeah, I don't know who that is either. I honestly, to God,
we picked up a UDFA long snapper who got hype, a mild amount of hype.
Was it the guy from New Mexico? I don't even know, and I should know.
No, it was not. Okay.
Was it Fresno State?
We'll have to cover this at a different time.
Mika St. Andrew?
When he eventually fails to beat out.
The UDFA class has 2 guys in it that I'm interested in, and one of them is not the people that you most think it would be.
All right, we'll move on.
Maybe we'll jump off that bridge later.
We'll go from Aruwariye.
Very good, Chris.
Aruwariye.
I've been working on
Aruwariye.
it. So just so you guys know, it is part of the thing that we do here.
I think
we mispronounce names sometimes on purpose. This one was not.
No, we just had a Beetlejuice moment is what we had.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did. Here he appeared. Let's see. Okay, so we'll move on. 6th round, we had 2 picks. Start out with our first wide receiver of the draft, Travis Fulgham from Old Dominion, a real big producer of wideouts. All the last 4 Hall of Famers were all Old Dominion alumni. Riz, tell us why you love this pick and why he is going to beat out Galladay and Marvin Jones so that we only have 1 wide receiver on the field.
Wow, that's bold, man.
That is some...
That's some serious boldness right there.
I got it. I can do it.
That's never going to get old, is it?
No, not for me.
You know what?
Hate it. Just
Chris,
like the air horn.
Remind me later. I have a couple like drops that you should download.
Okay, cool. Your guys, they're just happy I'm not doing the air horn one. Remember?
We don't need that. We really don't need that. So Travis Fulgham was another Senior Bowl guy who did very well in the red zone drills that
which I like.
Chris and I watched,
Yes,
which we liked a lot. He presents himself as a target on short routes really, really well. And if you're looking for 2 games to watch him play against Virginia Tech, the best team that he played. He was the best player on the field that night against
I watched that
a lot of 4 and 5 star recruits. And he and the UDFA, who they took his teammate, who also was pretty good, they dominated. And their quarterback isn't very good. So that's one of the things that I like. I like wide receivers who played with crap quarterbacks in college because Kenny Galladay is a great example. They learned how to catch bad throws.
Yep.
Fulgham can do that.
Which maybe you need to do in Detroit still.
Don't even.
Am I teasing people again?
Oh.
I just tweaked so many people just now with it. Please don't be mad. Send all your letters to Case. He's the one with the sense of humor.
So my thought on Fulgham, my parting thought on him before I turn it over to Case, I think he's going to be number 3 outside wide receiver this year, and I think he's going to be pretty good at it. I think he is a better number 4 overall receiver than TJ Jones was last year.
Yep.
And so in that sense, the Lions got better.
It was very strange to me that they didn't go after a long-term solution to the slot. But if that's like the one area on the entire team that they basically ignored, I mean, I shouldn't even say that. I mean, you can't even say that because they did, pick up Amendola. They didn't ignore it. They didn't find a long-term answer. They put a Band-Aid on it. And that's okay. That's okay. That is really, truly okay because you can't get a permanent solution to every single position every single year. So that does not upset me. So getting back to Travis Fulgham, I mentioned there was a player, obviously. I think maybe I telegraphed that a little bit. Where I could see some comparison to Kenny Galladay. And this isn't necessarily with what you've seen out of Kenny Galladay since he turned pro, but it is comparable to some of the things you saw out of Kenny Galladay as a college, player.
Right.
He doesn't have quite the height. He's a couple inches shorter, a little bit smaller. Not in any way that I can discern a faster guy. So, I mean, he doesn't quite have the ceiling physically that Kenny Galladay has, but he does some similar things in that you see him use his body, use his hands, use the sideline, all these things extremely well. A guy who will win jump passes against decent corners, not necessarily great corners, but decent corners.
Which is perfect for number 3 or number 4, right? I mean, that's the thing.
Right. What I see as his ceiling, where Kenny Galladay to me has a ceiling as a true number 1, and he's only been in the league 2 years, and he's already approaching that fast. As opposed to that, this guy's ceiling is number 2, but not a bad number 2. Mm-hmm. And that is when you talk about a 6th round pick, if he were to match that ceiling of being an actual good number 2 outside receiver who can win jump balls, who can get separation with his arms, with his whatever, that's not a bad thing. It's not the kind of receiver that I want to rely on all the time because I'm not sure he brings anything new to this offense.
Sure.
But it's also not a bad thing to have.
So what I have on him is at 6'2", 210 pounds. Defined, not super cut. I think there's some strength and conditioning that can help him start getting to his ceiling. But Riz stole my line on him. He's absolutely better than TJ Jones. and is an improvement for us at the fourth, possibly the third wide receiver spot. And that's
I was concerned. What concerned me was the number of times, even just watching his highlights, the number of times I saw him come down with the ball and then get ripped out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That concerned me.
Right. He's not going to be doing returns for you.
So
no, that's a real worry.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why he was available in the sixth round.
We got another guy round 6 who people are pretty high on. They're thinking he's starting week 1. This guy is going to carry this team to the Super Bowl in 2019. It's Ty Johnson out of Maryland, running back. Riz, should we start buying jerseys now and engraving his name on the Lombardi Trophy, or is this a little premature?
I will say this: he might start week 1 as the kick returner.
See, I did a little foreshadowing.
Here's the thing we're gonna have a problem with, because I saw you mention this in the in our Slack chat. We're getting rid of Agnew. So are you trying to tell me?
He's got to prove himself this year. Is he better? Is he better at the number 5 cornerback spot than Ty Johnson would be at the number 4 running back spot? I don't know. That's for summer camp to decide, but I think that will get decided there.
Yeah.
I can't rule out Tommy Lee Lewis either, because he
Jesus fucking Christ.
He is worthless as a receiver, essentially, but he's a tremendous return man. So there's actually a battle for the return spot. Ty Johnson, I saw him in person at Michigan last year. He ran a kickoff back. He pulled away from a lot of really good athletes in Michigan. It was like, oh crap. But like, that guy's shot out of a freaking cannon.
And the way that Spiro Agnew was coming up last year in his role in the defense, maybe you don't want him to be running around. You guys got to check out the video on this. I've got 2 face palms. It's so great. The way he was doing that, it was maybe maybe he's a little old, but he's really got some moves.
You understand, Chris, that almost none of our listeners.
Yes, like 90% of the people like Spiro who.
Yeah, that's right. They're gonna go Google it, and they're gonna be educated. This is edutainment, just so you know.
We're teaching them Watergate. That's awesome.
It's that time of year. Anyway, so yeah, no. Agnew, maybe you don't want to risk his leg. Maybe you want to see what he's doing on the defense and put him in a little less harm, or maybe you want the competition. And if Spiro goes down or CJ goes down as a kick returner, hey, what a good idea is to have somebody else to back him up in that role as well, or have 2 guys outplay each other for the position. So I think it's a good pick, and I think it's absolutely right, Riz. He's a good chance of as returning kicks. If not in the first game, definitely as the year goes on. We'll have to see how this plays out.
Yeah. Part of the issue would be that while Agnew is probably still practice squad eligible, if we ever tried to put Agnew on the practice squad, he'd get snatched up immediately by somebody else. Right. Whereas this guy wouldn't.
Hopefully.
That's probably true.
Maybe. I shouldn't say wouldn't. I would say less likely to be, grabbed immediately.
The one thing that I saw from Johnson, and I'll credit Josh Liskowitz from Pro Football Focus on this, he averaged almost 8 yards a carry, but you think, okay, as a speed back, he's breaking a lot of long runs. He was actually 3rd in the Big Ten in yards after contact as a running back.
Yeah.
That tells me that he can run a little bit.
Yeah.
That he can break a tackle. And he did against Michigan a couple times. He made Devin Bush miss a tackle last year. That's impressive to me. So he didn't get a lot of opportunities at it. He was not throwing the ball much. He had, I think, 11 catches in his last 2 years. He did have 16 in his sophomore year. But so if you're penciling him to replace Theo Riddick, he's got a lot to prove that he can work on the passing game before that happens.
Right. The counterpoint to that, and I feel like this is a conversation that we will have more than once this offseason, is that we have several good pass blocking running backs outside of Theo Riddick now. CJ Anderson, elite in that area. As far as PFF is concerned anyway, he's elite.
No, he's a body rocking blocker.
both Zenner and Carry-On grade above him. So the question is, if they really want this kid to be on the roster, who does he knock out? Does he knock out Riddick, who's more expensive than everybody else, who they could save some money with by cutting? Or does he knock out Zach Zenner, who isn't, the best at anything, but is capable in a lot of things?
Which is exactly why we need everybody to show up at Zach Zenner Day at training camp.
Agreed.
Get your shirt. Get it now before the end of the month, because it's out from every shirt goes to St. Jude, DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Click on that merch link. I love Zach Zenner. You're going to want that shirt for Zach Zenner Day at training camp. We need to support our mans before he is gone.
I love Zach Zenner
Day coming up, so let's do that.
Yes, I do.
All right, Riz, anything you'd like to tell us? Anything else, or can we move on to probably the wiliest pick of the draft?
Onward ho, mate.
All right. We picked up a gentleman for a position that I don't know that we had anybody to play. Isaac Nada out of Georgia at tight end. This was absolutely a steal. Riz projected him is first round. I don't know. Like I said, guys, I apologize. I'm on no freaking sleep. I'm exhausted.
All right, so I got to look this up because he was.
Did he play football or was it highlight?
I got to figure out what number he was. I know what number he was in my rankings. I want to see if they got him on that. I haven't actually looked this up yet.
I can give you the ranking where we got him.
I got to scroll down here. We got him at
224.
Okay, he was my number 201 player. So apparently we got a value.
Yay. Good job, Quinn.
So he was higher than that for me until he went to the combine, and all his workout was so comically bad.
Oh no!
Like offensive guards are running faster than him, like legitimately. I think he ran a 4.98, and that was the unofficial. I got official down to like 4.88, but he looked like he was. Like, has he ever run before? Has he trained at all for this event?
Is he wearing a leg brace?
Yes, exactly.
And crutches.
So we're standing. So in the combine, we're in a giant media room, and I'm there with the Draft Network guys: Kyle Krabs, Joe Marino, Trevor Sikkema, Brent Solak, and we're all watching it. And we're like, was that real? Because we all thought somewhat highly of this guy. Like he's probably a 4th round guy, maybe falls to the 5th. After that workout, we're like, there's no way in hell this guy's ever getting drafted. He can't play at that speed. So the Lions are banking that the tape that made all of us think, okay, he's a 4th or 5th round guy, is better than oh my God, this guy, I don't know how he played at Georgia, at all, let alone start as an NFL prospect, that he was at the combine, because his combine was as bad as any person I've ever seen at the combine, and I've been to 11 of them.
So, Case, does this mean maybe he wanted to be a Lion so bad that he threw it when he was working out? Like he did it so that the Lions
I've been trying that strategy for a long time.
It's working.
And it hasn't worked out for me yet. But when they eventually take me, it'll pay off. But
when they realize how incompetent I am going to roar to the top.
Big dude, big dude. I mean, that's the appeal, is that he's another big dude. He has found his way into the end zone at times. It's not a pick that if I sat here and said that I think that he'll be on the roster in 3 years, I would be lying on my teeth. But he's a big dude, and they want desperately to improve the red zone, offense, and that's the idea, is get somebody that Stafford can throw the ball high to and go up and get it, as opposed to worrying about, trying to be as sneaky about it.
All right. We're going to move on. We get to PJ Johnson out of Arizona. Defensive tackle. Again, under the radar superstar. This guy's starting week 2. After we realize that Austin Bryant isn't all that. I'm just making shit up. What do you think? Again, 7th round picks. They have, it's a single digit percentage chance of making it in the NFL. Is this guy is he hit double digits, Riz, or are we're still playing singles here?
I still have not seen him play, so I don't know. I won't talk about a player that I haven't seen. I watched Arizona. I had no clue that he was a prospect. I never studied him, so he's on my to-do list. It'll probably get to it over the weekend. So until then, I reserve judgment, because I don't want to talk about a player that I haven't seen. I'm not that intellectually dishonest as most people are who are trying to pass off as being experts.
Hey, guess
Riz,
what? I'm going to agree with Chris.
Give me some expert analysis then, Case. Let me know what you think about it.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. I was going to say that I'm going to agree with Riz on this, and I'm not about to say anything about the dude because I think I saw half of a highlight video, and that's not enough for me to say whether or not I like the dude.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you the 95% assessment, and I'm going to get it from Riz, of all people. How's his hair, Riz? You've seen a picture of him. That's obviously they're going to define how well he is.
Picture? I'm going to look it up real fast because I don't.
You Google that.
Let's look it up together.
All right.
The hair will determine. I'm telling you, this is going to be the. Everybody likes to make up their own metrics. It's going to be the CHI.
Sweet.
See? It's going to be the Chris Hair Index, okay? The CHI, and we're going to use that, and we're going to start ranking players.
I kind of like it.
There we go. Okay, so he's going to play at like 4th round pick level. You guys watch.
He's got like the long braids, skinny braids, which I happen to like. They're kind of cool. I like it.
I like him a lot more on defensive player than I like him on an offensive player because on a defensive player, you're not worried about getting dragged down by him.
Right. It's not DeAndre Hopkins or anything. My God, do you see what his hair was like at the draft? It was awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
He's going to really take a step up this year, according to the CHI. All right, we move on. We got 2 UDFAs that you wanted to talk about, and I think maybe one of them is one that I want to talk about. But Riz, why don't you take the reins here? Then we'll rate the draft, and we'll all go to bed.
So the number one undrafted free agent that they took is a guy that you and I saw together, Chris. That's Donald Parham.
That's who I was picking. I got him sitting right in front of me. He's a short fella, isn't he?
He makes me feel short.
Yeah, 6'8".
He is
6 foot fucking 8.
Yes.
Jesus.
And 200, and he's legitimately 6'8".
I literally just looked him up. I'm sorry because I hadn't had time today to look up.
No, so I'm 6'5". He's 6'8", and and when we saw him in Mobile, he's every bit of 6'8".
Well defined.
No question about it.
Not huge, but well defined. Right.
Right. It's hard when you're that big, when you're that tall, to be big. And he only weighs 235. I think
243.
230. Okay.
At the Senior Bowl.
Okay. He's probably going to play in the 230s unless they can keep some weight on him. He went to Stetson. They probably don't have a great weight program at Stetson, sure. I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
One of my notes is he had really long legs. Like most of his height is in his legs versus his upper body, which is probably why he's going to play.
Can he high point? Because Jesus Christ, if you can get a 6'8" guy who can high point.
So he made a play. He made a catch in the last day of practice at the Senior Bowl on a bad throw. And on that team, there's no other thing than bad throws because their quarterbacks were fucking awful. They were wasting our time. It was brutal. So he made a catch where the ball was supposed to be outside he's on the left side of the formation. It was supposed to be outside where he could spin and catch it with his right hand going towards the sideline. And it was a toe tap thing. And the throw ended up being deep and inside. And he leaped off his back foot, went up and reached with one hand and then got the other hand there just as his first hand got it and snagged it and got both feet down and then fell out of bounds. I'm like, okay, I can catch. Yeah. That was a brilliant catch. So he is not going to block. He is a move tight end.
Yeah.
He is an H-back. If you're familiar with Orson Charles, he's like 7 inches taller than Orson Charles and plays the exact same way.
He could be interesting in the slot. He could be an interesting changing things up in the slot.
He can be the way that Devin Funchess was used in Tennessee.
Yep.
Can he be the way that Joseph Foria was used?
Yes, absolutely. And he's faster and twitchier than Fourier was.
Okay.
And also doesn't play beach volleyball to my knowledge.
Right.
My wife, which is also
isn't a moronic,
little less douchey, I think is the word you're looking for.
I shouldn't be that hard on for you, but
well, dude hit on my wife in front of me, man. That's
I was going to make a mom joke about him, but it's okay.
Yes.
All right, so we got that. Now, I thought that he would be one of the guys you had. Who's your other guy? I think I know who it is, too, because I watched you on Twitter.
So he also was at the Senior Bowl. His go in Mobile didn't go very well, at least not from what we saw, and that's Bo Ben Showell. who everybody is instantly saying, oh my God, he should have been our second round pick and he's going to start at right guard for us. No. No. So he was at Wisconsin. So first off, he gets the Wisconsin bump because he's a Wisconsin lineman. That happens. That's okay. Mm-hmm. Iowa tight ends get the same thing. Yeah, so there you go.
I live number 8.
Right.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I don't mind Hawkinson. Honestly, I don't mind him at 8. I just would have made different choices.
Can I throw some stats out about this guy quick?
Please do.
All right. So he's 6'6", right? For an offensive lineman, 307 pounds at the Senior Bowl. And when I talk about body types, and we can use the hair index shortly if we need to, but not well defined.
He looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Yes. Except a really tall version of the Pillsbury Doughboy. All right, so what's your thinks on this guy? Is he going to be? As
I recall, he also doesn't manscape, which is unfortunate.
The elephant walk is sometimes an unfortunate event.
Shave your backs, fellas, please. Do the ladies a favor.
I can't reach.
Okay. Don't.
There's a sponsorship deal to be had.
Yeah.
Harry's.
I'm joking. I'm joking. There's no hair on my back. I'm like a pristine.
His nickname is actually Silverback, if anyone wants to know, just so you know. Okay, so let's.
So Ben Shawwell. He played at Wisconsin. He was really good at leaning on people in the run game, and I use leaning literally,
just like
he comes off
tipping
the line.
Cows.
Yes, that's a great way of describing his blocking style. He's tipping cows. When the cow moves against him or moves, as it might be, he didn't do so well. So he had a couple of reps in the Senior Bowl practice where they're going one-on-one. So when they do that, there's a center and a tackle lined up, and the defensive lineman is on the other side, and he has a tackle or an end to the outside for interior rushers. And there were 2 plays where Ben Shawwell didn't even touch the guy rushing at him. He's not quick.
He gave him a wink on the way by.
His feet do not move. This guy will be, I know everybody thinks he's making the team. I don't think he might not make it out of rookie minicamp. I'm that pessimistic on it. I don't want to crap on the guy.
He is a practice squad guy. It's not like that would be mind blowing.
Oh, I don't even think he's going to make it there. Ryan Pope, the offensive tackle they signed out of San Diego State, is a much better player, much better NFL.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I meant like he's at very best a practice squad guy. It wouldn't be shocking.
That should be his goal, is to make the practice squad. He is not going to start. People, get that out of your fucking heads.
Mm-hmm.
He's not better than TJ Hawkinson. He's not better than Jelani Tavai. I know it's fun to say that. I know there's 97.1 people that are telling you that that's true. Turn that fucking station off.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the IQ.
Think for yourself.
I thought you were talking about the IQ. Dude, I didn't know you were talking about the radio
podcast
station.
Where you don't have to think for yourself.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. We need some. Hold on.
Thank you for rescuing me from our rage. I'm about to throw things.
Don't need to think for yourself. Right? We do a little programming.
People were pissing me off yesterday.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Now I'm flashing back to. I'm reflecting on that draft.
Reflect. All right. I have 2 questions for you guys. Okay, about the draft. I'm not a big draft grade grade guy. I just think they're kind of, especially now, they're just a little silly, a little premature. So I want to ask you 2 questions, but they're each a 2-part question. Okay, and we'll go. The first one will go with you first, Case, then Riz, and then we'll flip it around. The first one is: did the team get better on offense, and did the team get better on defense? Where are you at, Case?
First, on the whole draft grade thing, I mean, it's the same as power rankings. It doesn't mean shit. It's just entertainment.
Power ranking every year, Case. Don't do that.
I do the power ranking every year, but it's shit.
Case does that.
I know. Don't kick yourself in the dick.
But it's entertainment.
Wait till like September so people forget.
Anybody who's reading it doesn't recognize that's entertainment and then tries to come at me about it. Like, go fuck yourself because it's just entertainment.
I'm going to come at you.
Let me tell you how stupid you are. Okay.
Oh my goodness. Oh my fucking goodness.
Anyway.
Done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't see a good way to argue. I mean, nobody's gotten hurt yet.
Okay.
If somebody gets hurt, then change my answer. But nobody's gotten hurt yet, so yes, both the offense and the defense got better.
All right, Riz, were you feeling the same way? Or you?
Did they get better on offense
since the end of the season? Yep.
Yes, they did because they added T.J. Hawkinson. He will probably. I'm going to predict now. He's going to be second on the team in receptions next year.
Oh wow! Okay.
That's getting better.
Yeah.
And he can do a lot of things that he gives them a dimension they have not had in a long time, and that's a big guy who can catch down the middle of the field and catch hard thrown balls.
Yep.
So I'm happy with that. I think they did get better on offense. Defense in the draft, did they get better? They got different. And I think they wanted to get different. They wanted to get bigger. They got bigger.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to get more multiple. I think they got more multiple. Did they get the players that I would have necessarily chosen for them? No. But they did get Oruwariye. I think where he's drafted now takes the expectations off. He can be your number 4 corner as a rookie, and it's not going to be a disappointment. Whereas if he was if he was a second round pick and he didn't beat out Justin Coleman or Rashawn Melvin, then I think people would be disappointed in him. So I like that for him. Yeah,
that's a good take though. They got different.
They got more of what Matt Patricia wants his defense to be. What they wanted.
And now the time will tell if what they want is right. Historically, if what Matt Patricia wants seems to look like it's good, and that would be definitely better based on his historical defenses. Okay, now here's where I think it really matters. Okay, and this is kind of driven from some conversations with Brandstatter over the last little bit. We got better, fine. How did we get better or worse compared to the rest of the division? And Riz, I'm going to let you go there because this is really, I think, where things matter, right? This is where a real draft grade would come from because that's 6 of your games a year, right? So in your division, did we get better on offense than our division, and did we get better on defense than our division?
Like just the draft or like overall?
Let's say since the last game of the season.
Since the last game of the season, no team got better on defense in the division more than the Green Bay Packers did.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I can go with that.
They added 2 starters in free agency who are both really good. They both are named Smith. Mm-hmm. They added their draft strategy is odd. They have drafted 2 full secondaries in the first and second round in the last 4 years. But they did get a better secondary, and they are better than they used to be.
Yeah. Okay.
So they have gotten better. And they got in their second round pick, Elgton Jenkins was the guy that I really hoped that if Quinn was going to go offensive line on day 2 that he got. Mm-hmm. So yes, I think Green Bay has improved more than Detroit has. And I know everybody's going to throw Dookie at me, but that's the way I feel. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Don't worry, we beat them 38-0 at the end, but and they got a little better. It's okay.
God, that was nice.
That was beautiful.
That was nice.
That was awesome.
Gorgeous. Minnesota got better on offense. Taking Garrett Bradbury was a nice move by them. I'm trying to think of who else they took. They took Irv Smith, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to watch how he fits there because.
And whether or not they cut Kyle Rudolph, after it's too late for us to actually pick him up.
Now that we have 14
the fuck off
tight ends on the roster.
There's a weird obsession, and I'm not accusing you of this case because it's not just you.
Well, yeah, no, I get it.
There's a lot of people who love Kyle Rudolph and make him out to be like this. He's like a perfectly. No. He's an perfectly average starting tight end,
right?
But
he would have been perfect for us, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't disagree. He would have been better than Jesse James.
Right.
I'll give you that.
I like Jesse James a lot too, so don't misunderstand that. I just felt like I felt like if they had cut Kyle Rudolph, as much as sorry for the tangent here. As much as I'll rag on the Lions for taking a tight end in the first round for economic reasons. It isn't like good tight ends have been, in plethora in free agency lately.
That's for sure. So I'm looking at the rest of their draft. They got 2 offensive linemen who are probably going to start right away for them. And I like that. Drew Samia is going to probably play right away for them.
Or Warrior.
They did take a long snapper. I just saw that. Honest to God, I hadn't.
Hey, we did that a few years ago.
Their 7th round pick, number 250. they took a long snapper from Air Force. If he's from Air Force,
it works out.
He might not even be allowed to play for 2 years. That's an interesting pick. Okay, yes, they definitely got better on offense if their offensive line improved.
Yeah.
If Riley Reif isn't so freaking clearly their best offensive lineman next year, they got better. Did they get better than the Lions did? Probably not.
There you go. All right.
Chicago.
Yes.
Chicago? Fuck Chicago.
Oh. Take me, Riz. Take me
right.
now.
That's right. That's right. Get down with it. Get down with it.
So they traded away Jordan Howard to draft David Montgomery, who is not as good as Jordan Howard. And that's their first pick.
They did the same kind of moves when they went after Trubisky too. It's a real step down kind of role.
You know what? You got to give them credit though, because the player that San Francisco took at 3 is awful. Solomon Thomas.
Yeah, it was a jinxed pick. It was
could have been
my favorite part. They didn't draft for the first 2 days, did they? Chicago.
No, they did not. They drafted it late in the 3rd round. Yeah.
Okay. And the second day they did. I loved that. I loved. Where's Chicago? The whole broadcast. So, anyone see Chicago coming up anywhere? It was so much fun. Those sausage pounders. All right, Case. What do you think? How are we doing the division overall?
I feel a little bit differently than Riz does on some of these things. Just like when you take total hauls into account, I didn't like Rashawn Gary. I was very glad that he wasn't our pick. I feel like the health concern is a real thing to worry about, and there were other things about him as my research into the draft. Personal feelings, personal biases about what I like and what I don't like. He wasn't my favorite. So, okay, so there's that. So they took him. Doesn't mean it's a bad pick by any means, because he could have gone earlier than 12. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, by no means would I call it a bad pick.
I don't get what they're like. They signed Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith, who played this ostensibly
right, and that I agree with.
And they can't kick him inside because Mike Daniels and Kenny Clark are both better than him. I don't get where they see him playing.
Right, that I all completely agree with.
In Green Bay,
Darnell Savage. That was one of the bigger reaches of the first round, in my eyes. But once again, we've talked about how, how the fuck much do I know? I didn't think very highly of him. That doesn't mean there isn't a reason that somebody should have thought highly of him. So I don't know. The overall, when you look at their whole offseason, adding 2 big name defensive players plus 2 high draft picks on defense, the potential for their defense to be significantly improved, which they needed, by the way, because they were the worst defense in the division, and likely, unless there's a major improvement, will be the worst defense in the division. They absolutely needed that, but that's what they focused on, and I can't blame them for that.
Yep. I think a lot of the overall success of the team really depends on our Warrior. And it's not just because I like saying his name. I think that second cornerback on the defense is going to be a key position for how things play for this team. If he can do his job well, based on the other pieces we've gotten in place, I think we've got a great defense on this team, and I think that's put us in a great position in our division to do well. I'm still concerned about the offense. I like the Hawkinson. I like having Jesse James there. I like the Ty Johnson pick, sure. I'm not sure we've done enough on offense to score the points that we want to score. I just don't know that. I think it's going to feel a little bit like last year, and that we're a team that feels like it can score a lot more than it can. And I'm not sure we're going to score. I hope Bevel does it. I'm praying for the Bevel magic. But everything it feels like we've spent this year, other than the first pick, has gone into defense, right? And it's this year. The team this year is all about making sure they don't score, because if the other team doesn't score, you can't lose, right? And I think that's kind of the thinking there.
Chris, do you want to let me finish talking about the division?
No, I gave up on that. I just wanted to get a couple words in quick in one of the gaps. So he can finish off now.
No, it's all right. I was just I'm messing mostly. I don't have anything to say about the Bears at all. I think Riz covered that perfectly. Whether or not I agree about the Vikings offensive line, I know they spent picks on the offensive line. Whether or not those guys are actually any good. And I was very not high on Bradbury, and this could be an issue where I was also not aware / high on Ragnow. So I mean that could very well be a similar issue to that. But what I'd seen about Bradbury was that in pass protection he needs help on every play.
Yep,
and that's like.
He certainly needed it against Clemson.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the if there was a large, I don't have a larger thought on it than that, but if Bradbury is like a guy who needs help physically, like technique wise, great, knows where to be. It's just a matter of like being overpowered. That's probably something he can work on.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, and that's where we're going to go with it. That's going to be this week. Thank you so much, Riz, for joining us for the whole show. I appreciate all your vast intelligence and great research and all the work you do. And now you've got nothing to do till about the Shrine game next year, right? You're done for the year.
I have a mock draft due Friday.
So it begins. All right, guys. Thanks a lot.